Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. We all want to be smart with our dollars, and part of being smart with our dollars is making good choices with those dollars for today, as well as those dollars we set aside for tomorrow. And that's where investing comes in, because we invest to give ourselves a brighter financial future. But if we're not careful, poor choices today can certainly derail our investments for tomorrow. And unfortunately, there's a lot of really common investing mistakes that really end up hurting investors. But if you know what those most common mistakes are, you can better avoid them. So here's my list of top 10 investment mistakes I wouldn't want to make. Not having a retirement account. This one seems pretty simplistic, but it's more insidious than it seems. If you work for an employer that offers a retirement option, you're far more likely to save for retirement simply because the option's there. The most common employer-sponsored retirement plans are the 401k, the 403b, the simple IRA, the 457, the TSP, and many of these accounts offer both a traditional and a Roth option, and what is available to you really depends on your employer. And employer-sponsored plans are amazing for their easy access and their flexibility. Generally, once you're enrolled in them and you've set your contribution amount, that amount is simply withdrawn from your paycheck every single month and put into that account. And automation is our best friend when it comes to investing, because most of us, when left to our own devices, simply won't remember to contribute to our savings or investments every single month. We tend to take the path of least resistance when it comes to practically everything in life. Consider that according to Vanguard, businesses that offered only voluntary enrollment in 401k plans had a new hire participation rate of just 28%, while those that auto-enrolled new hires had a 91% participation rate. So simply having an employer enroll you in their plan makes it far more likely that you will save for retirement. But not all employers offer a retirement plan. And for those workers without access to a retirement plan through their job, many simply opt not to save for retirement. But just because you don't have access to a retirement plan through your job doesn't mean you shouldn't be saving for retirement. You can open an IRA so long as you have earned income or a spouse with earned income, or if you're self-employed in any manner, accounts like the solo 401k, the simple IRA, the SEP IRA, or a Kehoe plan. So there's a lot of options. But only 30% of US households even have an IRA, and only 15% actively make annual contributions to their IRA. So no matter what your employer's situation may be, there's always an option that's available to you. So make sure you're still saving for your future. Missing the match. Many employer-sponsored retirement plans come with a matching contribution. This is where you put a set amount into your retirement plan, and then your employer will come along and match that contribution up to a set amount. This is free money. This is an immediate 100% return on your money. There is never a reason to pass that up. According to a Vanguard study, 34% of 401k participants save less than their company match. So that means that a third of all eligible workers are leaving free money behind. There's no reason to do this. At the very least, contribute up to the match and capture that free money. The typical 401k match is about 4 to 6%. So if you have a $50,000 income with a 4% match, that means if you contribute $2,000, your employer will also contribute $2,000. That's an 8% savings rate right there. And I doubt you'd pass up a free couple $1,000s anywhere else in life. And the higher your income, the more valuable this match becomes. So remember, always capture the match. And keep in mind that the 401k is the account most likely to get to a 7-figure status, as opposed to any other account type, like maybe a brokerage account. And a lot of this has to do with the tax-free or the tax-deferred growth and that employer match nudging it along. So don't be sleeping on this account. Leaving before being vested. Each company is going to have their own rules when it comes to being fully vested. And this pertains to that employer match, that free money. Once you're fully vested, that money is yours to keep. Prior to that, it could be that none of that money or a portion of that money is not truly yours to keep if you leave that job. Now, some employers will say you're immediately invested from the get-go, and that employer contribution is yours to keep. Others will use a cliff vesting schedule or a graded investing schedule. With a cliff vesting schedule, none of those employer contributions are yours to keep until you hit a certain amount of time with the company. Then all of those employer contributions are rightfully yours. With a graded vesting schedule, your percentage of ownership over these employer contributions slowly ticks upward incrementally over time. Standard cliff vesting schedule is about 3 years, and a standard grading vesting schedule is about 6 years. Vesting schedules are something to keep in mind because gone are the days of getting hired by one company and sticking it out for 30 or 40 years. It's far more common to change jobs. Experts recommend that you stick with a job for at least 2 years to learn new skills and build your qualifications. But if you're constantly switching jobs before hitting this vesting period, you could be losing out on a significant portion of your employer match over time. Only investing in employer retirement plans. Now, in no way am I trying to bash plans like the 401k or any other employer-sponsored retirement plans. I think these accounts are incredibly valuable and we should be making use of them when we have access to them. But with that being said, sometimes it's not the greatest idea to put all of your eggs into one basket. This can be especially true if the account type you're utilizing through your workplace is a traditional retirement account, because these accounts come with a lot of rules and limitations. So perhaps outside of your employer-sponsored retirement plan, you might want to open up an IRA, maybe of the Roth variety, or simply have a traditional brokerage account. Not only can these accounts open up your investment options, but they give you different buckets to draw on in retirement. Employer-sponsored retirement accounts often allow you to only access this money once you reach a certain age. And what if you're forced into an early retirement, or you're simply aiming for an early retirement? You're going to need funds that you can access in those early years. Or simply having different buckets to draw on in retirement, that can help you to mitigate your tax burden during these years. But that's only possible if you have different accounts to draw on. Early withdrawals. A full 51% of people say they've taken an early withdrawal from their retirement account. And these early withdrawals can be quite expensive. If it's a traditional retirement account, not only do you owe taxes, but you also owe that IRS penalty if the money is taken out prior to the age of 59 and a half. So these excessive fees can eat up a hefty portion of your withdrawal. But the real cost comes in the form of lost compounding over time. These accounts are tax advantaged, meaning that this money gets to grow either tax-free or tax-deferred, depending on the account type. That means that these dollars are incredibly powerful in what they can turn into over time. When it comes to the money in these accounts, it's best to think of it as untouchable until retirement. These are not the accounts you want to be drawing on in your working years. That's what your emergency fund, your checking, or your savings are for. These accounts should really be left alone until your golden years. Following the wrong plan. When it comes to investing, you really want to be investing in a way that resonates with you, because we all have different risk tolerances and different timelines for retirement and preferences for different asset classes. So often you hear about a typical portfolio, like maybe it's the 60-40 portfolio where it's 60% stocks and 40% bonds. Or someone says you only need these 4 or 5 funds to make up your portfolio, and then they give you a list of funds to invest in. And maybe these are wonderful plans, but maybe they're not wonderful plans for you. It's best not to follow anyone's investment advice blindly, because so much of it really depends on your risk tolerance and your phase of life. When I started out investing, I was 100% in one index fund. That is very unlikely to be a path that would work for someone who, say, is 3 years from retirement. They probably want more stability in their portfolio, so they would incorporate things like fixed income securities or bonds. Other people might want a more hands-on approach and be actively involved in the funds that they're selecting. And even other people still might not really want that hands-on approach. They just want to know they're investing and that's it. So maybe they choose to go with a target date fund. Know yourself, your risk tolerance, and your goals, and how you need to be investing to get there. Because if you invest too conservatively, you may never reach your goals. On the other hand, if you invest too aggressively, you may be experiencing far more stress than you should ever have to deal with because of the volatility. Ignoring taxes. Perhaps when you're considering taxes in retirement, retirement, you might be thinking in terms of, okay, should I select a traditional or should I select a Roth? The Roth is going to give me access to tax-free dollars, and the traditional I will have to pay ordinary income tax on. But importantly to consider is Social Security. So many people think because Social Security is a tax that comes out of our paycheck during our working years, that we end up receiving Social Security tax-free in retirement. But unfortunately, that's not always the case. Up to 85% of Social Security benefits are subject to tax, and failing to factor this in could leave you with an income shortfall in retirement. So in planning your future, you want to make sure you're factoring in all taxes you're likely going to face, so you end up working with the income you want to. You can create an account with the Social Security Administration at ssa.gov and check what your projected Social Security benefits are. Or if you simply want an estimate, I will link the Social Security Administration calculator down below in the description box. Ignoring inflation. Everything is likely to cost more in the future. Food, clothing, shelter, cars, maybe not the Costco rotisserie chicken. So when you're aiming to hit your financial freedom number, you want to make sure to factor in inflation. And so much of this is really going to depend on how far your retirement is down the road. For instance, if your goal is to have $1 million in today's dollars, but you're aiming to retire in, say, 30 years' time, that's going to look more like $2 million, assuming a 2.5% inflation. And retiring with a couple $1 million might sound like a whole heck of a lot, but when you're retiring 30 or 40 years down the road, it simply isn't going to go as far. If you're interested in playing with an inflation calculator, one is linked down below in the description box. Checking your accounts daily. Even as I say this one, I feel like the pot calling the kettle black, because this was me when I was in my 20s and hardcore following that FIRE lifestyle. Any day the market went up, I went and checked my numbers and I did a little dance. It was wholly unnecessary, but at the very least provided entertainment value for my mom. When you're investing for your future, for your retirement, or for a goal that is 20, 30, 40 years down the road, there is absolutely no reason to be checking your account balances daily or weekly. I'm not gonna lie, I still like to check my account balances and see where my progress is, but these days I tend to check about once a month and less frequently if the market's down, because I don't want bad news. A better plan is to check on your investments once every quarter or once every 6 months, or at a bare minimum once a year, and you should notice a trend. Over time, things should be going up. You have nothing to gain by checking on these accounts every single day. Aiming for 1 million. It seems like a very common financial goal is to say that I need $1 million in order to retire. And $1 million is nice, it's a pretty round number, so I get why people choose it. But it's not necessarily the best plan to pick a random number out of thin air and say, this is what I need in order to retire. Now keep in mind that the vast majority of people approaching retirement don't have nearly this amount saved up, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with setting an ambitious goal and then driving towards hitting it. But you want to put thought into the number that works best for you. Maybe that's $1 million, maybe it's more, maybe it's less. Actually take the time to figure out what kind of nest egg you would need to support the lifestyle you want in retirement. That's the number you should be aiming for. Avoid these mistakes and you'll be better on track to hit financial freedom when you want to. Have you made any of these mistakes? What others would you add to the list? Leave your thoughts in a comment down below. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I'll see you soon. Bye.